You protect the network, the endpoints, all that, but it's equally important to protect the data and keep it encrypted so that if somebody were to make a copy of your data or steal it, that data is useless to them because it's kept encrypted.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Purandar Das. Purandar is a CEO and founder at Sotero, which is the global leader in data security and ransomware prevention. Purandar, welcome to our podcast interview today.
Boris, thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Absolutely. My pleasure as well. So I believe that we will have a thoughtful conversation on the topic of ransomware prevention and data-centric security. We will include majority of industries. Maybe you can give us some examples. But before that, can you please share with us some your background, where you come from, and what are you doing, and what is your experience in this field?
Sure. Actually, interestingly, I've been in the tech space for almost 2.5 decades now. My background is, ironically, marketing technology. I was the CTO at two of the largest marketing services companies in the US, and one of them is actually one of the largest in the world today. So what that brought to me was experience with large-scale data management and also dealing with data that had privacy and security information in it. That actually served as the catalyst and the foundation for why I got into data security. The challenges associated with protecting data at scale and also making it available for use or consumption was the trigger for me looking at the challenges associated with data protection. And Boris, you know this, it's really hard to protect data, as we're seeing with everyday news headlines, right? There's a lot of value, tremendous amount of value in data, and there are bad people going after it. But the flip side of that is data is incredibly valuable for the businesses that operate in this world, right? Because that's what drives their business to enable decisions. Looking at legacy data security products, the challenges of keeping data protected while making it available for use was pretty clear that there wasn't a product out there that could do that. So my co-founder and I kind of decided to go down this path of saying this should be done better and can be done better, and that's where the notion of Sotero as a company, as a product, arose from. So yeah, I've got over 2.5 decades in technology. A lot of it in data management, but the last several years in data protection and security as well.
All right, fantastic. So let's dive into our topic today. Let's first understand the threat landscape. Can you explain what ransomware is? Of course, many people know, but maybe you can give better definition, and why it has become such a prevalent threat in today's digital landscape.
Yeah. So ransomware itself is not new, right? I mean, the whole idea of malware or virus infections has existed for a long time now. That started off by attacking individual computers or laptops or desktops, if you will, and holding that hostage. Early on, it was malware or adware, right, where they would throw ads or pop-up ads at you, forcing you to go to different websites. That kind of took the next step in terms of encrypting desktops or laptops and then asking for a little bit of money to help recover from that, right? So ransomware in itself, the notion of ransomware itself is not new. What has happened, though, is people like the bad guys have realized that the value in attacking individual laptops is minimal compared to attacking corporate systems, right? And that early form of that attack actually manifested itself as saying, we'll make a system inoperable, right? And then ask for money to restore it back to operational status. That happened for a while. As that was happening, the bad guys realized that they were actually ignoring what was even more incredibly valuable to them, which was the data or the information. They said, okay, now it's a two-step attack. One is we can hold the systems inoperable. There is value in there. Right, we can get some amount of money because we're impacting business operations. But what happens if we went in there and stole the data? right, and held the data hostage, because now you're magnifying the value and the adverse impact of an attack to the business. That's where we are today. Attackers are less interested in making systems inoperable. That's a nuisance and has some impact. But you steal the data, you're taking away what matters most for the company, right? It's the lifeblood of the company that they use to operate their business on. It's also the intellectual property, the confidentiality, the privacy, all of that bundled into one asset, which is the data. That's what a ransomware attack today is going after what matters most for the business, that information or data.
Fantastic. So I think I understand that our listeners now know what we are talking about. Let's briefly discuss what effective prevention strategies there are. For example, what are some of the most effective strategies organizations can implement to prevent such attacks?
If you go to any most cybersecurity vendors' websites today, they all claim to be protecting against ransomware. When you dig deeper, what they're actually telling you is have a backup, with quote unquote an air gap backup that's secure from attack, and use that backup to restore. There's many ways to do it: software backups, hardware appliances that are offline, that are air gap, that come back online and stuff. Truly, what they're all providing is a way to recover from an attack, which is good. You need that, right? Backups are essential. You need a way to restore systems, whatever the reason for the downtime is. What they're not actually doing is two things. One is preventing the attack from happening in the first place, right? And second, providing a way to secure the data and make sure that the data, if it's stolen, is useless to the attacker. Mm-hmm. So they are providing ways to recover from the attack, right? And monitor and do all those kinds of things in the event of an attack. They're not providing a way to proactively prevent an attack and stop it from spreading. Second, they're also not providing a way to eliminate the possibility that the data stolen from a network or from a device is rendered useless in the event that it lands in the hands of a bad actor.
Mm-hmm. So what is the data-centric security, as you kind of described in your description? How does this differ? Does it differ from traditional security measures, and why is it crucial in the fight against ransomware?
Great question, Boris. I mean, you heard no doubt you've heard the phrase defense in depth, right? Every company talks about it. That's part of their posture. That's what they're going to think. When you actually look at what that does, it provides multiple layers of defense at the perimeter, right? Your endpoints, your network, your access management, et cetera, et cetera. When you go through this thing, the one thing that's not actually part of that defense in depth is the data, right? There's actually no protection for the data. And people say we use encryption to protect data, which is kind of extremely misleading, because what encryption today does is write encrypted blocks to disk, right? That actually does not provide you protection in the event that somebody's coming in through a channel like an application or a user piggyback credential. The applications just open up access to the data. And the reason it does it, encrypted data can't be operated on or used. So you can't really encrypt data. That has gone to that is the way systems are protected today. Our approach, Sotero's approach, and the whole notion of data-centric security is we actually kind of took a different approach to it and say we've got to find a way to keep data encrypted and protected while it's being used. That's our first foundational tenet, and we have a patent that enables us, our product, our technology, to query encrypted data without decrypting it. So there's no loss of protection when data is being used. On top of that, we actually layer multiple capabilities that are typically done at the perimeter, right? We do access management granularly down to the attribute level. We enforce them in real time. We also do threat detection and prevention in real time at the data asset level. What you hear people are saying, well, we can find an intruder at the network. We actually we can enable anomalous activity down at the data level. So whether it's a database, it's a disk asset, we can actually identify potential threats in each transaction or each request that's coming to the data. That's what we mean by data-centric security, is protect the data. The perimeter is important, You protect the network, the endpoints, all that. But it's equally important to protect the data and keep it encrypted so that if somebody were to make a copy of your data or steal it, that data is useless to them because it's kept encrypted.
Mm-hmm. I would like to ask you a personal point of view.
Sure.
What is the major misconception in the field of ransomware protection that you strongly disagree? Of course, you already described that how your system is different, but maybe from theoretical point of view, what you see is going on that you kind of don't agree with.
So the primary thing is two things. One is ransomware detection is typically at the endpoint today, right? That assumes that you can identify all of the entry points into your system, and you're able to detect ransomware attacks based on the behavior. There's two problems with that. You can't really cover all entry points into a network, right? As we're discovering every day, there are many different points, whether it's the third-party vendor software, third-party systems, API integrations, application integrations. It's not possible to monitor everything. So that's one misconception. The second one is that the ransomware products can detect all attacks. They can actually, most ransomware products today in the market can detect signature-based attacks. That means that that attack has to have been discovered before and documented for them to be able to equip their product. Zero-day attacks will still slip through. So that's two things. The third one is that the ransomware products can protect your data from being exfiltrated. That's not really true at all because the data is unencrypted. If they get in and make a copy of your data or exfiltrate your data, you're at risk. The company's at risk. So there are probably three misconceptions today that are widely present.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's discuss advancement in technologies. We know that AI and machine learning is very important right now. How does it feel? How do you feel it influences cybersecurity and the ransomware protection field?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely will impact in the long term as people get their hands around specific use cases, implementations. I mean, it's going to automate threat detection. It's going to automate threat prevention as well because it can identify the different paths, etc. But it's also leading to something that's not great in the near term because every cybersecurity product, not just cybersecurity, every company claims they're AI enabled, which whether they're not or they're true or not is nobody knows, right? Anything can be said on a website or said in a product brochure. Longer term, yeah, I think there's going to, again, there's two faces of the coin for that as well, right? The bad guys have access to the same AI platforms or capabilities that the good guys have. So they're going to use it to fashion new vectors of attack, new mechanisms, new capabilities, new technologies, but it's also going to help automate a lot of the things on the good guy side, which is product development, threat prevention, threat detection, automation, etc.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So let's discuss about the human factor, employee training. How important is it to have employees who kind of can do kind of constant training in this field of because majority of employees are don't cybersecurity specialists. What do you need to install in your company to allow this educating staff?
Great question. I mean, I think part of it's already done in let's start with the challenge about training and resources, right? I mean, we talk about how busy they are, how many people they are, and how many things they have to handle. This is one more thing. That's the same complaint you hear from cybersecurity professionals, that they're drowning in tasks and that they have very little time to think about and do anything. So training is good from an awareness perspective. It has to be provided in a way that it's easy to consume, that it doesn't become a extremely painful process that employees kind of like tune out, right? And it's easy for the bad guys to slip in when somebody is tuned out for a very short period of time, right? All it takes is one bad click or one response to an email to get a foothold or an entry point into the thing. Finding ways to make training enjoyable, and equally importantly, finding ways to automate identify the potential mistakes that they can make, I think have to go hand in hand, because neither one of them by themselves is the answer. It's a combination of both.
Awesome. So if we summarize our interview for someone who is listening to it and would like to walk away with one or two major takeaways, what would that be?
That the threat landscape is constantly changing, and you have to have an open mind to look at new products, new technologies, to constantly evolve to achieve true protection.
All right, fantastic, Purandar. I have all my questions so you already answered. So if you think that I forgot to ask you some important questions that will benefit our audience, please go ahead.
No, I think, there is the one point I'll emphasize again is that the threat landscape has not stopped, right? It's constantly evolving, and the magnitude and the complexity of that is constantly changing as well. Sitting back and saying what we've done in the past is going to protect us from what's happening in the future, I think is a really bad idea. With an open mind, look at the new technologies and the new products that are out there to help you better your protection.
Fantastic. Thanks again. And I wish you and your company a great success, and hope we can cooperate further with our global risk community and Risk Management Show podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Boris, for having me. It's a pleasure being here. I'd love to come back in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you.